How's everybody doing? My name's Boris, and I'm here to talk about the Culling on Xbox One. I feel like I've gotten pretty decent at the game. I know what I'm doing, and I see a lot of the same mistakes over and over when I go up against people. And so I figured I can put out this information, see what happens with it. If it reaches nobody, oh well. At least I can listen to it again, I guess. But if it does help out even one person, then it kind of makes it worth it for me. So I have a list here of kind of the most important things to keep in mind when you're playing through a game. So this is in no ranking order as far as importance, but more of a order of interaction. So the first one that we're going to talk about here is creating a crafted knife right off the bat. So you can do this one of two ways. So if you start in your drop pod before the match starts, a lot of times I'll be there for 10 or 15 seconds just sitting there waiting for the door to open. What you can do is there's a screen right above the map, to the right of the map, and if you punch it 4 times, a rock will come out. You punch it 4 more times and you'll get a second rock. And then you go ahead and craft your knife, and now you're ready. You're ready for when that door opens. You have a knife, and anyone you run into before you get to your first building, you'll have an advantage, or at least you'll be on equal footing because they will also have a knife at that point. So yeah, you can either punch that screen, or you can just wait for the door to open, or if the door opens right away, you can walk out. There should be plenty of rocks and sticks right along the ground of the drop pod. So you find 2 rocks, craft a knife, and go along your way. Which brings me to the second point. Get to a building as fast as you can. So a lot of people have talked about first thing you should do is go looking for players. Go looking for players, because the faster you kill players, the more funk you get, and the quicker you can get, the better rewards. But I would argue that instead of looking for trouble right away, I'm going to get to a building, find a better weapon. That way, if I run into a player that has a little bit better skill than me, or if I just get unlucky and miss a couple free hits or something like that, I have the added damage to kind of make up for that. So I'll go straight to a building. If I run into somebody, oh well, I won't run away from that fight. I'll take it on and see if I can take that person down. But first thing I'll do is try to run to a building, open as many lockers as possible, and get an upgraded weapon before someone else arrives. Now, once I do find that upgraded weapon, it's important that I don't want to get rid of my crafted knife, because I'm going to use that later on after I've acquired more funk to make a crafted bow. The bow is a very important weapon to have, especially early on. The third thing, if no one is fighting you right at that time, or if you've already defeated your first opponent, we want to make sure that we scavenge the building, keep whatever you want to keep, but make sure you sell everything else in that building. For one, that's going to give you more funk to craft other items, and 2, it's going to keep those items out of the hands of anyone else that runs into that building. So if you have the time and there's no one around trying to take you out, sell as much as possible in that building. Which brings me to the third point, which is sell enough to make a bow. Take that crafted knife, either add 1 more rock and then a couple sticks to it to make a bow with some decent amount of ammo, or you could just go, if you have a couple sticks, you can make it too. So the crafting pattern is rock, 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 stick to make the bow, and then more sticks to make 6 arrows a piece. Or you could go rock, rock, stick, stick, and then more sticks for ammo. Either way, we'll be making a bow to get that ranged combat. Now the fourth tip here is to find someone to fight. So at this point, you've got a decent weapon. You might even have some kind of stim. You might even have an armor at this point, depending on how much you've sold. And you have your bow. You want to find somebody to fight, because every time you fight somebody, you're going to get more funk than what you can get otherwise in a short amount of time. And really, the whole name of the game is to add up as much funk as possible in order to get that airdrop ready get a late match spawner or something like that. So a lot of these tips are being able to get as much funk as possible as fast as possible, because the sooner you get your better weapons, the quicker you're going to have an advantage over everyone else in the match. And towards the end of the match, you definitely need to have your airdrop already in your hands. You need to have enough funk to get some kind of spawner to get yourself a better weapon. And I've won games with tier 1 weapons when the other ones have, or where the enemies had tier 4, but you can't count on that, and the margin for error is so much lower when you have an underpowered weapon compared to your opponent. So you need to make sure that you put yourself in the best position possible to succeed. And so finding someone to fight, even if you lose the fight, oh well, we didn't waste more time running around the map trying to find more stuff. We tried to get that kill. If we fail, we just start up another game and repeat the process over. But if you succeed, now you've gotten their funk, you've gotten their inventory. If they had a better weapon than you can swap it. Hopefully there's a recycling machine around so that you can recycle their inventory and get even more funk, and you put yourself in a real good position. Which brings me to point 5. If you already have enough funk at the time of point 3, when you're making your bow and selling items to get more funk, you definitely want to craft armor. It's really important, and it takes, I think it's 42 funk, and if not, I'll add that in later. But what you want to do is you want to create a satchel, and you want to, so that's 3 sticks. You create a satchel with 3 sticks, and then you take a rock and make a crafted armor. Then you take another rock with that crafted armor and make a reinforced crafted armor. And that's gonna give you a definite advantage over someone that doesn't have it at any point in the match. So if you have this early game, people aren't going to have that yet, and you're going to have an advantage. Even if someone's more skilled, they'll have to do tons more damage on you than you will to them in order to finish you off. And that's what we're looking for, survivability and moving on to the next fight. So crafting an armor is definitely an important tip in order to succeed in this game. And at the end of the game, everyone's going to have it, so you definitely want to have it as well. So even if you lose your armor, you need to craft more and just deal with the loss of funk to get there. So as you're walking around trying to find people, trying to collect more funk, if you see a building, even if you're worried about someone being in there, even if you don't want to run off course to take up more time, it's worth it just to open the door, take one step in the building, and if you haven't been in that building yet in that match, you will gain 5 funk. Now I've seen people that just run straight past it, or I've heard people that don't know anything about this, but if you run right to a building, step 1 foot in it, come out, you've just gained yourself 5 funk. So if you're passing by 2 or 3 buildings on the prison while trying to get to your next destination, you might as well take a little time just to get that extra bit of funk, because it all adds up at the end and it'll all help you in the end of the match. Another way to gather funk is, if you have headphones on especially, you'll be able to hear this. You'll hear a buzzing sound in your ear. You'll hear flies going off. And anytime you hear that, that means there is some bones on the ground, or like a little pool of blood with like a head in it. And if you go over to it and hold X, you'll collect 5 funk for each one of those you find. So especially on the outer portion of the map, they'll be spread out, and they're put there so that you can collect funk on the way to your building. So if you're going building to building, if people have passed this up, and I've seen these late game as well, where people don't even bother to collect them, you can get 25 funk just from going to one building to the next. Another place you'll find them is in dumpsters. When dumpster lids are open, even if there's a black trash bag in there, you can hear the flies buzzing. You can go over to it and collect 5 funk. And like I said, with the walking into the buildings, every little bit is going to count in the end, whether it's needing 5 funk to make a bandage at the very end, or needing a little bit more to make an arrow to take your opponent down, or even getting that last bit so that you can get the late match spawner. Everything you get throughout the match is going to help in the end. And that's really what we're trying to do, is get the best advantage possible so you can try and win the match if you're in it in the end. Okay, and then, like I said, I'm going to make a combat tutorial video in the future where I go over different scenarios on, what I've done, what I find works, and how to kind of read the opponent to see what he's going to do next. But there's a couple basic things that you need to know in combat that will help you out a lot. And you'll find it out quick if you actually pay attention to what you're doing. You'll find out that these things can either help you get the kill or get you killed very quickly. If you get staggered, so if you swing and your opponent blocks and you get staggered back, or if you're blocking and someone pushes you and you get staggered back, they're going to hit you with a full hit if they're smart at all, because you're completely vulnerable. You can't block it. They're going to hit you with a full hit. Now, complete instinct to after you get hit with a big hit is to throw up your block again to limit taking more damage, because you figure, oh, maybe they'll keep hitting me. But smart players know that. What they'll do is if you get staggered, they'll hit you with a full hit, and then they'll follow directly with a push. And if you go to block right after a full hit and they push, you're going to get staggered again, and then it can quickly snowball and you can be dead in a matter of seconds. So what you want to do, instead of doing that, as soon as you get staggered and you get hit with a hit, you either want to hit back or you want to shove, because neither of those are going to allow them to stagger you unless they end up blocking. But you want to hit back or shove, because really the first thing they're going to do after they've hit a full hit is try to shove you again to keep dealing damage as much as possible. There's always outliers to the rule, and this is why it needs to be a bigger video, because I'm going to show you examples of the fights that I've had and exactly how they've went down, because everyone does it a little bit differently. But you'll see that a lot of times when I stagger somebody and I hit them again, they'll go to block and I'll push them and I'll just keep doing it. And then you can change some things up to continue that on, but the basic idea is that once you get hit after a stagger, do not block again, because you're just asking for trouble and you'll be dead or at a complete disadvantage once you get your head around what's actually going on, and it'll be over pretty quick for you. Now, at the same time, that works both ways. So if you're on the attack and you stagger somebody by blocking them or by shoving them, you want to hit with a full hit always, if you have time. If not, just go with a short hit, but then directly after, try and push, because a lot of inexperienced opponents will go to block after getting hit, because it's a natural thing to want to try and block the damage from coming any further. So you want to push after you've staggered and hit them. Push again, and then hit them again, and then push again, and see if they catch on. If not, I've had fights where I've taken someone out in a matter of 5 or 6 seconds because they kept blocking after I've staggered them. And you can tell that that's a new player, and it almost makes you feel bad, but at the end of the day, you're just playing the same game. So to have that advantage, you need to know in your head what you want to do to start off the fight. Now, like I said, in my more in-depth video, we'll go through the different strategies you have, because you have to be able to read your opponent, and you have to be able to try and figure out what they're going to do next in order to win the fight. One big thing that I see all the time now is, so I'll be in a fight, it'll be pretty even, but someone will kind of back off, and I'm not sure, I think they want me to chase them, so then it's not like they're running away. If they run away, that's one thing, there's different things that you can do when people are running away, but they'll still be facing me and they'll back off, almost expecting me to run at them with a full charged hit or something like that, like trying to trap me into that. But what you want to do, if somebody backs off of you when you're fighting, you want to get out the bow that you have crafted, hopefully, at this point, and you want to start shooting at them. Now, one of two things is going to happen here. When you pull out the bow and start shooting at them, hopefully you hit them, which will deal some damage too. But even if it doesn't damage them, what they're going to do, more times than not, what they're going to do, as soon as you pull out that bow, they're going to come charging at you. And this is great too, because we're kind of doing the exact same thing they were doing. We're leading them into a trap. So even if you don't hit them with the bow, as soon as you pull it out and start shooting at them, more times than not, they're going to run at you and try and attack because they think you're vulnerable because you can't block with the bow. So what you'll do is quickly switch to your melee weapon and block as soon as you see them start running at you with an attack. And then you can go forward with our strategies to try and win the fight after that. But a lot of times I see players back off, even if we're 50-50 in a fight or something like that. They'll back off to try and trap you into chasing them down to swing at them, in which they'll block and have you staggered. Instead, you just pull out your bow and shoot at them. A lot of times they will run straight at you. That's why you need a bigger video on combat tactics, because there's just so many different things that can happen in a fight, and it all happens within about 30 seconds. And so you really have to be able to think ahead and keep on your toes as to what's going on in order to win. And I've gotten pretty good at that, and so I feel like, I'll be able to provide that in a future video. Now, another important thing, it might seem really obvious too, but a lot of people don't seem to do this. I run into people all the time that for some reason just have like 75% of their health left, or 50%. They're not fully healed. After every single fight, the first thing you want to do is heal up, whether it's finding a healing machine, which takes 1 funk for every 3 health points it gives you. So say you have 40 health left after a fight, and you want to go to a health machine to heal up. It's going to take you 20 seconds to heal that 60 health back, and it's going to cost you 20 funk in order to get those 60 points back. Now, instead of doing that, what you could do is get 2 sticks, either by hitting a tree or finding them on the ground, craft them together for a bandage, and that's going to give you 25 health points back for the 2 sticks, and that's going to cost you 5 funk. So if you do that twice, that's 10 funk for 50 points rather than 20 funk for 60 points. So, I mean, if you have the time and there's no one around, you want to craft bandages in order to get the most health for the least amount of funk possible. If there's someone coming quickly and you really need to just get a few health points back, find that healing machine and get as much health back as possible, even if you do waste a little bit of funk in the process. But either way, after every single fight, you want to make sure that you are fully healed so that if someone else comes up on you, you're at least on equal terms and you're not at a disadvantage to start. Now, like I said throughout this whole thing, the last point I want to make, the most important thing, throughout this whole match, we've been gathering as much funk as possible. We do spend it on making a bow, we spend it on crafting bandages, we spend it on crafting armor whenever we lose it, and things like that. We want to gather as much funk as possible, and we want to try and get to 200 funk remaining towards the end of the match so that we can get that late match spawner. The late match spawner can give you tier 4 weapons like the katana, the sledgehammer, the fireman's axe, the trident. It can also give you a tactical body armor, which is a full body armor, and it can give you a impact grenade, which is pretty useful as well. That might be the least useful out of all of those, but still it can turn the battle to your favor. You can get any of the guns, so you can get the SMG, which is the worst gun. It's really only effective up close. You can get the Magnum, which is really good and useful, and then you can also get the rifle, which has the most damage and I think is the best gun if you know how to use it. What you're always looking for is the katana, obviously, because that is, unless you have that in your airdrop, but that is the best tier 4 weapon that you could possibly get. But any tier 4 weapon is going to outclass a tier 3 weapon, or a tier 2 weapon, or tier 1 in many cases is what I have at that point. So you want to try and get as much funk as possible, so towards the end of the match you have 200 funk remaining, and you can go to that late match spawner and get yourself a tier 4 item, or at least a very high item that will help you out in the end. And really that can make the difference between winning the match or losing the match. Really the name of the game is collecting as much funk as possible to put yourself in the best situation throughout the entire match, to see what you can do and how far you can go with it. So I really hope that all of these tips will help you succeed in this game, or at least get better, because this game is a ton of fun, and it has some heart-pounding action that really gets you going, and it's really nothing like I've experienced in a competitive game before, because it is pretty competitive and it gets pretty tense at times. And if you really get into it, you can have an amazing time playing this game, and we can only hope that it gets better and better and more things come out for it. I sure hope that more maps come out for it eventually, and more people start playing it, because not many people know about this game yet, but if they do it right, it can take off. So I can't wait for more people to try this out. I think on Xbox there's still a 2-hour trial on it, so if you want to jump in and give it a try, even if you get killed right away, don't get discouraged, because when I first started, I think I won 3 out of my first 60 matches or something like that. And now I'm winning at least a third of the matches that I'm playing from here on out. And I think I've won 8 out of the last 16 or so. So every time you play, you're going to get better. You're going to figure new things out. You're going to know different things to do that are going to make you successful. I just hope that these have helped you a little bit, maybe make you a little bit better. If you like the content, definitely leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a thumbs down and tell me about it. I'm happy to chat with you in the comments if you disagree with anything I've said. And subscribe for more content, because like I said, I do plan on making different tutorial videos going forward. See ya.